Good morning if you're joining us from another side of the world. Um, Thank you so much for being with us here today. Right at the onset, I will apologize for not being able to switch my camera on. I happen to be away at a rural site visit and my connectivity isn't the best, so the video is going to be turned off. Um, Over the coming hour, um, you would be hearing from me and my other co-panelists who are fantastic colleagues, have been previous partners for the fellowship program. And our objective would be to educate you about the program, tell you about its offerings, and then go on to elaborate as to how this can be potentially of interest for you as civil society organizations in the Indian social development space. Um, I will go ahead and begin by introducing myself. I am Chandni Vadwani. I head the Banyan Impact Fellowship program at the American India Foundation. A little bit about the American India Foundation before I turn it over to my co-panelists. The American India Foundation essentially functions across two mission points. First is to bring about social economic change in the Indian social development space. And the second is to foster and build lasting relationships between India and the United States. Now, the organization does the first through programs that it runs in the verticals of health, education, and livelihoods. Um, a lot of these programs have been functional for years. We do projects pan-India, and my sense is a number of you are familiar with our body of work. Our prime audience, while we cater towards the Indian demographic at large, our projects cater to bring about change significantly amongst women and children. The second mandate for the organization, as I was mentioning earlier, is to foster lasting relationship between India and the United States. And the way the organization does this is through its flagship fellowship program, which is the oldest program that the American India Foundation has been running under its umbrella for upwards of 22 years now. This program essentially aims to advance civil societies in India and the United States through leadership development. We run two tracks, one meant towards service in India and the other meant towards service in the United States. But through both of these together, our aim is to advance civil societies in the two nations combined by investing in the leadership development of young change makers of tomorrow. Now, before I tell you more about the program, I will go ahead and turn this over to my co-panelists. I will invite them over one by one and request them to introduce themselves, offer a few lines about the core work that their organization does, and a little bit about the partnership that they have struck with us in the past, maybe the years to begin with. Mohit, can we please begin with you?
Thank you, Chandni, and hello everyone. It's good to see a big number of people showing up. That tells an excitement and curiosity about the program. So I'm Mohit. I am based in Delhi. I actually am founder of an organization called Turn Your Concern into Action, TYCIA. We call it TYCIA. And we have a history of working with neglected communities. So our organization very specifically work with communities which have been historically being neglected. So we work with few tribes in central India. We work with communities in Kashmir, specifically in the highly infested terrorist zones, and we also work with prisoners. So these are the major communities we work with. And I've been part of American India Foundation for a long time now. It's been almost 10 years. You will be happy to know that I was a fellow at one point. So 2013-14, I was a fellow and was placed in an organization, in an organization called Nidan. And then at one point, I was so much passionate about the vision of this program that I always wanted to do something around it. And back in 2016-17, we actually applied to host a fellow in my organization. Post my fellowship, I joined my organization back, which I founded back in 2010. So I took a break for a year to be a fellow. So, and then 16, 17, we applied for a fellow and we got our first fellow in the 2017. Have been hosting few set of fellows for all of these years. Have been personally mentoring the fellows, as so that has been very special. And now one of my ex-colleague, is also a fellow in American India Foundation's program. So have history of somewhere being part of this program for past 10 years, and I'm extremely passionate to share that in next 1 hour. So over to you, Amrit.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Chandni, for the introductions. And it's great to see so many people coming in here, all the social organizations. So I am Amrit. I am the CXO with Frontier Markets. A little bit about what Frontier Markets is. So Frontier Markets is India's leading social commerce platform with a village level presence for last mile customers. So essentially our unique approach amplifies the our unique approach amplifies the voices of rural India, right? Leveraging insights to adapt to evolving needs of rural customers while driving economic value for the women at the same time. So we have a network of close to around 21,000 rural women entrepreneurs whom we call as Saral Jeevan Sahelis, who bridge the access gap to bring products and services like climate-friendly products, clean energy products, digital payments, agricultural tools and services, financial and healthcare services, and even government services to the doorsteps of the rural customers. Till date, we have covered around 5,000 villages in 2 states in India, and we have sold over 30 million products and have around 500,000 rural households who are transacting with us and whose life we have made very easy. With a focus of around 950 million people in rural India, we are in partnership with Indian government and a lot of NGOs and trying to scale our efforts to reach 1 million women who can help 100 million rural households by 2025, becoming the one-stop solution to help families, right? Access all the SDG-related solutions. Now, with AIF, it has been a very intensive and interesting partnership. Personally, I have been with Frontier Markets in the last 5 years, and at least last 5 years, I had the opportunity to host 3 AIF fellows, all of whom actually played a pivotal role, right? Ranging from designing Saheli programs to documenting learnings, from strategizing implementation, or how to onboard on tech, working closely with Sahelis, designing UI, UX, and even designing product strategies and disseminating communication messages. So it's been for us, Frontier Markets AIF has been a great platform to solve some of the really pressing issues, which has given an accelerated growth to the organization, and would be happy to talk about it more in the next one.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, both Mohit and Amrit. Now, to begin with, let's set the tone for the program, right? Let's try and understand really what is it that goes on within it. And then we go on to build the discussion from there. Now, as mentioned earlier, the program has 2 tracks. There is an India track and then there is a US service track. It's important to note that today's discussion is centered around the India service track in particular, meaning this is an opportunity for prospective organizations in the Indian landscape to understand partnership opportunities with us. Now, This program has been functioning for 22 years now. And in a sense, what we do is we bring over fellows from India and US combined, and we place them across organizations in India for a period of 10 months where they would be working on a focused project in one of the thematic areas that we are invested in. Now, these projects are usually replicable, scalable in nature, and something which is extremely interesting to note is that while AIF works across fields of health, education, and livelihoods, in particular, the fellowship program actually branches out and expands that ambit considerably. It's the only program which will also work at the forefront of other pressing thematic areas such as human rights, such as gender, such as sports, science, climate change, restorative justice, and so on. A lot of our projects, interestingly, sit at the cusp of multiple thematic areas and focus on a problem statement through an interdisciplinary lens, which is another something which makes this program very unique and goes on to state the significance and the magnitude of impact that fellows create within their host organizations while they function there for a period of 10 months. Now, interestingly, the program has evolved in many ways over the last 2 decades. And every decade almost has been sort of an important point for us, which rendered us a chance for reflection, understanding what can we do better to create leadership opportunities amongst young adults, and also better ways of giving back to the community, better ways of advancing capacities of organizations. When we were finishing our second decade, we took that as a chance to rebrand ourselves. And as a part of the rebrand, we of course became the Banyan Impact Fellowship Program from the Clinton Fellowship Program. But what that meant, in a sense, was that we were doing more. So something which is of relevance here is that we decided very consciously to expand our bracket of the kind of thematic areas for organizations that we partner in. So being more conscious about reaching out to organizations far and wide within the country that might not be familiar of this opportunity, and making sure that our portfolio is as diverse as possible, comprising of a mixed geography and a mixed set of constituents, so we can create the impact that we say we create. Now, the program obviously will invest in the leadership development of these fellows, and alongside, we also bring about significant change in the capacity of organizations. Now, this is obviously my depiction of the program, right? And over the coming minutes, we are going to actually substantiate this with examples. We will also talk about ways how this can interest you in particular. But I think it'll be of interest to learn how our partners see the program, right? What is the value positionality, the value point that our previous partners see in this? So I think I'll go ahead and sort of begin with Amrit. Amit, my question is, what is your broad understanding of this fellowship program? What do you make of it, and what, according to you, makes this unique?
So, I would say that it's an institute that has been playing a very crucial role in bringing together highly skilled professionals and development organizations, right? For us specifically, through this collaboration, the fellows and the local organizations are able to exchange knowledge and skills to steer projects that lead to social and economic development, thereby creating impact at the grassroots level. So there is a very intensive selection, training, and mentorship that is being provided by AF at one point of time, so that there is a smooth and seamless navigation for both the stakeholders, right? For the fellows as well as for the organization. And it is, and by bringing the fellows and the organizations together, right, it helps the organization at the same time to pivot, right? So any problems, any gaps that the organizations are seeing, the fellows are able to contribute to that. And at the same time, the fellows also get a chance to work with the leadership team to bring and, to actually see the impact that they can create by working with an organization. And that has actually been the major, thing that we have actually seen witnessed with frontier markets. And it really helps a lot.
Thank you, Amit. Mohit, your 2 cents.
Yes, I would love to actually just talk from the lens of a grassroots organization that we all are busy firefighting. We are doing lots and lots of credible work on the ground. What I could actually always say that most of the organizations always have lots on their plate. We always are looking for people who can become our sounding board. So what I always feel that the fellows, sometimes we just see this program as it's a 10-month program where you get a highly skilled person, a resource person who can come and work with you for 10 months, but for free of cost. But that's not simply this program is. This program gets you a highly skilled person who is going to be with you for 10 months, but at the same time is going to bring a lot of cultural change to your organization. And it's a capacity building program for me. So what AIF is doing, it's building capacity of a young person on the other side by giving them a grassroots organization experience, somewhere understanding, building their leadership lens, by actually putting them in the center of what is happening, and to the organizations, giving them a very credible, skillful person who actually can do lots and lots of things on the capacity of the organization beyond just being part of one human resource playing one role in a project. So this program is a broader than just getting a person who can actually just work for 10 months for you. They bring lots, which I can eventually talk, but they bring lot on the table to build capacity of the organization they are hosted by. So that is where I understand it's more like a very, very sweet spot of capacity building on both the ends, how this program works.
Right. Thank you. That's very interesting to note. I also sort of want to build on the points that both of you raised and go on to ask why and how is the position of a fellow different from that of an intern, say, or say hiring an external resource for a brief project? How would you differentiate between that and absorbing a fellow from a program?
Yeah. I can go. Amrit, you can go. Yeah, please.
No, Mohit, you can go first. I'll follow up. Yeah.
So I always find this question very, very interesting. I always found it took me a lot of time even to answer this program in our own organization. We really wanted, before hosting a fellow, we wanted our colleagues to know, hey, we are not going to have an intern. We are not going to have a consultant. It's not going to be a full-time colleague of yours. They will have a very special designation, and this designation, which is a fellow, Banyan Fellow, and how they are different from everybody others, because interns, when you host them, they basically are coming to you for a very specific thing, which is more about just how you as an institution can get something out of them, and what you can play a role in building their career. Same goes with consultants, are usually very specific task driven. You need some task to be done. You are getting a very super specialized person to do just that. Fellows role are very broader than that. Fellows are basically coming They're also coming for a very specific project to play a specific role, but that's not where the buck stops. The fellows are they become part of your culture. They bring lot of things to your culture. I'll give you a very simple example. We hosted a fellow, our first fellow, Todd Etheridge, 2017. When he came, he actually brought one special thing, even the first week when he came to us, that he brought a lot of compliances. He used to be part of an institution before in US, and when he came to us, he actually checked the program he was engaged with. He actually brought us, hey, what is our child sexual policy? And AIF actually makes sure every institution have, but Todd actually made sure how these kind of things are done. They're practiced as well. Lot of compliances they help you with. Lot of times they help you with just having a professional culture in the organization. They actually help you mostly with the kind of things which are beyond just one project work. So they become a crucial part of learning journey of an organization, the growing journey of organization. So just looking them as an intern or a consultant, they are broader. The role is more broader.
I agree with Mohit. And just to add on to that fact, so how we actually see it, it's like with an intern, you have 2 to 3 months, right? So by the time the intern gets absorbed in your organization, starts learning about things, it's about time that intern has to leave. At the same time, like Mohit mentioned, as a consultant, they are working on a very specific role. But then what generally happens is, because they're not working with you throughout, right, and in depth, again, them getting absorbed with the entire organization's culture, you'll see a small gap there. A fellow brings in a mix of both, right? They come with highly skilled, right? So they are with the organization for a longer time, number one. Number two, the project that you actually give them, they actually go to the core, right? So I'll just give an example. We hosted a fellow in 2019-20, 18, I think 18-19, if I'm not mistaken, or 19-20, Anjali. So when she came in, at that moment of time, we had just introduced technology, right? Frontier Markets was never a technology platform. So that moment of, we were just bringing in technology. And when she came in, she actually started working in depth, and she was one of the major, I would say, stakeholder in the company who started getting our Sahelis digitized, right? Teaching them, designing the entire training program, and actually working closely on the ground, making sure that our 2000 Sahelis start using the app. Now, so, and she was coming in from a very, she had already worked with a lot of organizations. She had a tech background. And because our project was actually skewed towards that, she could sort of, and then going forward, that was not only the thing that she worked on. Slowly, she started understanding the entire culture of the organization. She started getting into product management, started sitting with the marketing team to design marketing strategies, started writing proposals, right? And she then became an integral part of the leadership team. So that's another part, right? Fellows are you can actually consider fellow as a part of your leadership team, and not just someone who's just coming there, working, and then going home and creating reports, right? It's something that will actually change the way you are working, whether it can be restructuring, it can be the human resource thing, it can be about any particular domain that you're talking about. And that's what defines fellows versus an intern or a consultant.
And I'll just add very quickly one thing, that a lot of times we somewhere bring fellows and we think that this is specifically that their work will be for 10 months. But they are usually, there's such kind of, it's very well selected cohorts. So they are those kind of people who are very proactive. They understand the more needs beyond what they are given, and then they become your sounding board to the organization. Hey, these are the things you guys should do. They also bring a lot of best practices which are happening globally. So they also tell you a lot of things that, hey, why don't you guys do this as well? I can help you actually somewhere set up this, and then you can take it forward beyond my role. So a lot of those things happen beyond their just work, and they, of course, they do the project which they actually are assigned to.
Right. Thank you, Mohit and Amrit, for sort of summarizing that so effectively for us. The fellow host organization relationship is super unique, And as you rightly said, it's completely symbiotic in nature. The host organization is expected to look at the fellow as a resource and not as an intern or a staff. And the fellow, in turn, also is then a resource person who is not limiting themselves to the project just to say, but the fellow is basically that external resource that many organizations in the Indian landscape otherwise would not have access to. So they bring in the additional perspective and the best practices like Mohit was talking about, which are crucial in terms of helping scale up and create impact. Now, my next question again is about your specific experience of having hosted fellows. If you can sort of expand on one or more of these years of having hosted fellows and go on to talk about how did that create impact in a tangible way. Amrit, can we please begin with you?
Sure. I had the privilege to actually host 3 AI fellows, and one of which I've already spoken about, Anjali, who was with. Last year, we hosted Prakriti. And so when she came in, our entire the entire objective was to how do we make our communication and digital experience for the rural customers so easy that they are able to then talk to us directly, right? And when she came in, definitely as a fellow, you need to take a couple of months to understand the organization. But what was really good about all the 3 fellows were that they didn't wait for the organization to tell them ki jao field pe jao experience karo, or go and understand what the consumer psyche is. Even last year when it was we were all working from home, she found out ways to get in touch with the field over phone, over Zoom, got in consumer insights, talked to the women entrepreneurs and the customers over phone, designed the entire communication plan and the digital tools that can be used, which we then sort of implemented. And now it's actually helping us onboard more customers. It's made the life easier for our women entrepreneurs and the customers, and because of which they are now able to interact with us on a regular basis. Similarly, we hosted a fellow in 2018-19, I think Molly, again from an American fellow. When she came in, at that moment of time, we were actually expanding our women entrepreneur network in different areas. And what was really required, so when you want to scale up, when you really want to create more impact, you have to have a guidebook, right? You need to have something which you can replicate in different areas. And she immersed, even though she was American, even though it was difficult for her to understand Hindi, she was not afraid to go on field, spend a lot of time on field, speaking to them, speaking to the Sahelis, and sort of documenting the entire learnings and the process. So that became our guiding book for the next 4 years in terms of how do you identify such women, how do you create, how do you train them, how do you equip them digitally, how do you help them in terms of teaching them how to collect data or talk to the rural customers, give them a voice. And that became a guiding book for us. And Anjali, when she came in, I mean, definitely the tech is something that she helped us introduce. And now we have 21,000 women entrepreneurs who are on our app, right? So our experience has been that, they take the entire project very seriously. They work towards it. And more importantly, as organizations, and it is typical for all of us, right? And Mohit also pointed out very clearly, right? We are lost in our routine work so much, right? And we have our own way of working. When these fellows coming, they bring in a sort of a culture, more disciplined to be exact, right? And they start creating that positive culture within the organization, right? And what we started seeing was a lot of our employees started following these processes, right? It's a very small example, but like, you have a 1 hour meeting, right? So at the end of 1 hour, we have this habit of, it can go up to 1 hour, 30 minutes, and everybody is sitting, still talking about things. But at the end of 1 hour, the meeting ends with a summary. And within 1 hour, you actually get the minutes of the meeting. right? And so everybody started getting that, started imbibing that particular culture, and that's one of the major aspects that the fellows bring in. So yeah, it's been really great, and actually every year we get in touch with AIF, and we really want to host more fellows, right? Because we know they are really they actually help the organization accelerate the growth.
Well, thank you, Amrit.
I
Thank you
will.
for sharing.
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead. Please carry on.
I would love to talk about Jessie Standifer. She was our fellow in 2018, 19, if I remember right. Amazing fellow. And I would like to talk about one anecdote. So her major project she was working on was she was helping us. We were doing work with prisoners who were recently released, and she was working on creating a helpline for them. So she was with our team. She was actually most of our team members are ex-prisoners. So she was working very closely with people who actually and helping them create another like a tech platform and a helpline where people can call, etc. And during her time, she was doing it excellent. And we were visiting one of our projects in central India with the Korku tribe, and she visited with me. And once she visited, she realized that this problem, that we had one problem where we were working with almost 1,000 plus young girls who were it's an education program. And what they were doing, that teachers were not able to somehow build a process to keep a track of each student in their classrooms. And she and basically realized it, understood the problem on the ground in less than 15 days when we were there, came back to Delhi, and basically designed a whole together new project with me, where we basically made an Instagram campaign where each child by each teacher, it was given one particular number, and the process was completely designed that if you are supporting a child, you each person, each teacher know which child is supported, how every month their test, etc., were given to us. And now we actually have built a pipeline to support to our donors. And this project was not at all on her somewhere on her table. And she was so, and one of the things which I really like about most of the AI fellows is they are very generalist. They are not very specific, super specialized that, okay, I only know MNE. I don't know anything else. Or I only know, no, maybe this is my forte. But they are very enthusiastic young people who wants to actually do a lot of things collectively. So then Jessie is a great example around it, how she just built a whole project completely from her scratch. Another thing I will say, they're very independent. So it's not that you are hosting a fellow and you need one person to just take care of the fellow. A lot of time host organizations, yeah, a lot of times, yeah, a lot of time like organizations think, hey, who's going to manage the fellow? Like, I don't have that much time even. But a lot of them are very independent. They don't need that much hand holding. You just need to tell them the larger vision. Somewhere, yes, some hand holding in the orientation, etc., and they are good in it.
Right. Effectively answered again. Um, just a follow-up question to expand on our discussion. So, of course, you've spoken about the numerous ways that a fellow creates impact, right? And is a substantial value add to your organization while they're serving with you. But one tends to think 10 months is a rather brief duration. And so, how do you make sure that you make the most out of this brief duration and sort of craft a project which continues to sort of create ripple effects, so that it doesn't get restricted to a brief engagement, but it's a broader exercise? I think before Mohit or Amrit, either of you take a stab at answering this question, I request audiences to please keep their microphones turned off.
Thank you.
What I can say, and Amrit can, yeah, I can say that have a project in your mind, very specific. Like what there's a lot of pre-work which is required at your end, which is more cerebral in nature at the host organization. Applications are easy to navigate. You can apply. AIF is always there to help you in that process. So intentions are always there that you want to. But what matters a lot is what are you envisioning with the role of the person? How can you make sure that in 10 months a fellow can create something which goes beyond the 10 months of fellowship? So one of the things.
I see Miss A and Meenakshi. Yeah, if you've muted her, please carry on.
One of the things which we always practice is we spend a lot of time before applying the application, before filling the application. Exactly think which project we want because we have multiple projects with multiple communities. So we really think, hey, which project the fellow should work on. Then what exactly the role we need in the program, and how something can be achieved in 10 months. What will be that exact thing? So we always focus on building a process. As I told you with Jessie, we built a process of how the helpline should be run, or how she built the whole campaign of the tribal girls. And we always make sure that there is someone in the organization who is shadowing that fellow, and actually they can take over the program beyond the 10 months further. So strategically focusing a lot at what a fellow should do in 10 months is something which needs lot of attention at your end.
Yeah, Mohit, completely agreed. And just to add on to that, I would say the process that we generally follow, we always call this a discover, design, demonstrate phase, right? So the idea is that it's always important to first identify what is the kind of problem that you want to solve that will actually impact the community, right? And it can be anything. It can be that you're trying to launch a program and you don't have anyone to help you with strategy or design. Or it can be that you have another project in hand and you want someone to lead it. Or it can be that you need help in organizational restructuring and want someone to come and help you out with, right? It can be anything. But it's important that we first identify that problem because we know there are only 10 months that the fellow has. At the same time, once we have discovered that, then we have to understand what kind of professional or what kind of fellow are we looking at, right? Because rather than just giving a very generalistic, so if you're would say the problem, that statement that you're trying to solve is more around technology, right? You definitely would want to have a fellow who has some kind of experience in technology, who has a bent of mind to think in that particular direction. So it's important you create that entire description, right? But also it's very important to create what kind of impact that they would be able to create by solving that particular problem, right? Identify those skill sets. And more importantly, it's very important that we demonstrate, particularly in the application, as to why that professional should work for you. Please understand, it should be a win-win situation for both the organization and the fellows, right? Because once we have floated the projects, the fellows and the AIFs are then screening these projects because it's important that these projects are, number one, exciting to the fellow, it's full of learning, and definitely impactful. Yeah. Also,
நாளைக்கு நம்ம இதுல கனெக்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம், ப்ளூடூத்ல கனெக்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
And at the end of 10 months, I'll just give an example. There, out of the 3 fellows, there are 2 fellows who continued working with us on a consulting basis after fellowship, right? So we could continue. So one of them actually went back and kept on working with us on creating proposals. One of the fellows actually went back and helped us in terms of working with us on strategy and partnerships. So 10 months is where they are with you as an organization. But if it's a win-win situation for both of you, it can actually turn into like a full-time absorption, or it can even be that they can continue associated with you on a different level as well.
Appreciate that, the both of you.
just to sort of carry on in the interest of time and to talk more about the application process itself, of which identifying the problem statement is an important part, but a small part. Let's quickly take a look at what the process by and large looks like. I'm also happy to talk a little bit about the process that goes into establishing the pairs that we form up at the beginning of every cycle. Meaning, how is it that we go on determining as to which fellow would be placed with which organization? Because that relationship, that association is of prime importance. So our form really is, it's broad. It actually has a number of sort of prompts. These are brief, not very long, but a number of prompts that we need you to answer. First of all, a set of documents that we expect organizations to upload, just so we have some visibility into your organizational structure, policies, etc., and have some foresight and understanding of the previous work done. For how many years have you been functional? A little bit of visibility into the funding pipeline to make sure that the project is self-sustaining and will remain afloat. Moving on, we obviously ask for organization name, basic details regarding your address, etc. These are self-explanatory. We want to understand if you've worked with AIF in any capacity in the past. We ask for specific details on host organization, especially the supervisor, who's going to be our primary point of contact for both liaising with the fellowship team and mentoring the fellow while they are serving with you. Let's scroll down real quick, please. Yes. So again, moving on to the more important bits, because a lot of these are self-explanatory. Prompts around, regions where your organization has a presence, areas of focus for your organization, and then more importantly, the core problem statement in itself that you would like to address through your absorption of fellow from AIF. Now, obviously, we would like to begin with a statement of need. We'd like to understand what communities will benefit through this project that you're pitching to us. How and why is this a problem which is of relevance for your organization? And once this is solved or addressed, how will this help you in sort of advancing your capacity and catering to your beneficiaries better? A little bit about the project itself. As Amrit was mentioning, the projects can be designed in multiple fashions, and they usually come from a range of thematic areas and at a range of stages. So these can be projects which have already been functioning, but you need system strengthening, you need process establishment, and for that you want to onboard a fellow. It could be a project which is right at the brainstorming strategy phase, and for that you want to onboard a fellow. So specifics around those as to what stage the project is at, and the specific skill sets you're seeking for the intended ideal fellow that you have in mind. The reason we ask for all of these details, number one, is to obviously understand what kind of a fellow profile will suit your needs the best. Second, our process is extremely agency driven, and it's a very, very mutual ranking based process, meaning we will open out the projects which have been shortlisted. So organizations pitch projects to us, and basis the strength of these projects, we will longlist a range of organizations, and these projects then in turn will be shared with our chosen cohort of fellows. fellows have full liberty of picking projects that interest them versus not. And fellows are put in touch with organizations, the ones who opted for that project, the ones who see merit in it or think that it is in alignment with their areas of expertise or areas of aspiration. And through that mutual ranking process is how we determine pairs which are stable in nature, which goes on to explain why this is a detailed process. That question comes up often, and felt the need of addressing that. Now, after you've addressed the problem statement a little bit and spoken about the expected outcomes and specifics about the fellow role, we want to also understand largely and broadly as to what the rough calendar would look like, meaning month on month, what are the specific deliverables that you would want the fellow to accomplish in order for the project to be concluded successfully at the end of 10 months. Again, some questions which are centered around answering how is this of relevance and importance to you and how this helps create impact. So sort of questions around any plans that you might have to develop and sustain the work of the fellow even after they've graduated. Trying to understand if there are any research evidences, etc., that have been used to support the model or idea that you're pitching to us, and basically trying to understand your plan, your foresight. Where is it that you're looking to sort of take the project? How are you looking to continue working with it even after the 10 months duration has closed out? These are prompts that we've already largely spoken about. And just to add, that organizations are actually able to propose to us 2 projects, puts you in a better position, gives us more to choose from. And ideally, we place one fellow per organization. But a lot of organizations actually happen to work on multiple focus areas and function in very different geographies, very different social contexts. So if yours is an organization like that, know that we also might be in a position to place more than one fellow at your organization. So while you're applying, you might want to keep that in mind. And this is just this is a dummy form, as we've also indicated on chat, just so you get a sense of the broad prompts that we need answered. We have quite a bit of time left until we close out the application cycle this year. So you all would have a good amount of time to sort of mull over the prompts and create your best responses to these. Also to add, we are significantly committed towards diversifying and expanding our ambit of the kind of organizations that we partner with. So these are not just nonprofits, but also social enterprises, which might or might not be for profit in nature. We've also partnered with government bodies. This year is a first for us where we've partnered with the Jharkhand state government. And so we are very welcoming towards such associations, quasi-government bodies, civil society organizations of all forms. Just in the interest of time, I will go ahead and open the room out for any questions that our attendees might have for us or our panelists. You might want to type your question either in the chat section or unmute yourself and speak.
I would like to say just 2 things, Chandni, on your application. One, as an host organization, I would like to say quickly that please don't be intimidated by this form. It's a long form. It's very important. But if you give yourself enough time as a host organization, if you will think better, this is definitely easily achievable. And the second is, please give time. I really want, this form is not a one day thing. Don't leave it for the last day or something. This deserves some time to apply.
And just to add on to that, this application also sort of helped us get more clarity internally as well, right? So when you start thinking in this structured process, you are able to give more direction to your organization as well in terms of the project that you're working on and the kind of people that you're looking at.
Any questions or observations?
Yeah. Hi, this is Shankar.
Hi.
Yeah. Can I have a question, please?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Respected members of the American Indian Foundation and all the members who have visited here. My question is that I am 45 years of age and uh, been involved with the NGO organizations and almost I served 10 lakh people till date from 2004 on the areas of health, education, employment, and human welfare. So, how is it possible for us, like me, age cross 35, as you have given 21 to 35 something? So, I'm 45. So, how I'm going to be involved with this? Can you please elaborate in this?
Right. So if I understand it right, you're trying to inquire about the possibility of joining us as a fellow.
Yes, as a fellow, or I want to collaborate with AIF and all the initiatives, and then want to be a part of a disruption, in helping more and more people in the community and all stuff. So how to go for it?
Right. Right. Well, so there are two sides to the spectrum, right? The conversation today entails the India Service Track, as you know, and one side is to join the program in the capacity of a fellow, for which you must be within the 21 to 34 years of age bracket. And the second is for prospective organizations to onboard fellows. If you fit neither of these categories, but still want to sort of understand our work more and associate yourself with us, we encourage you to write an email to us and we can sort of pick up a separate discussion with you to figure any possibilities of synergy. We're happy to type the email out in the chat section so you can reach out to us.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
this is Sujit from Tripura. Hello.
Hi, Biswajit. Go on, please.
Ma'am, actually, my question is like, what about the logistic arrangement of the fellow if our organization is going to host?
Can I answer that? I mean, just from my experience, it's I would say the entire financial commitment would be, it's very simple. It's only the first 15 days of the stay is what we have to take care of. Apart from, and definitely if there any travel from the HO side, that's something that the host organization has to take place. Otherwise, everything else is being managed and taken care of by AIF.
So including
Right.
that, accommodation and all?
Yes, so the first 15 days is something that we generally
okay.
take care of, because that's the time when the fellows are coming in and also they are new to the city. So it's important that we sort of help them find out the right they can stay post that. So it's the first 15 days is what the commitment is being asked.
Okay, then sir, you mentioned that you can do, sir. And so what about the, suppose you're saying, suppose if we're sending to outside of location for field, so that local transport we have to manage, we have to provide that.
Yes.
I mean, traveling assistance, something.
Yes. So just to say, just to reiterate, There's no application fees. You can apply free of cost. There's no fees for application. There's no stipend is completely covered by AIF. AIF provides stipend. So as a host organization, we have not paid single penny to Jesse or Todd, any of the people, or like how Amrit mentioned, we don't pay. AIF pay the stipend directly to the fellow, and even health insurance of fellows is covered, etc., from AIF. So the only responsibility being a host organization is that when they are placed, imagine if my organization is in Madhya Pradesh and the fellow is placed in Madhya Pradesh, they need housing. And the housing, the rent, etc., is paid by the fellow only eventually. But for first 15 days, by the time the person will navigate the housing, that's the only support we have to give. And then if for the project work, as Amrit said, project work, if we are sending them somewhere outside the city, that what we have to cover.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, may
Hello.
I?
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, may I?
Yeah. Hello. Sorry. No, I'm speaking from Shillong, Kamunarona, Bethany Society. So my question was that will AIF facilitate the procurement of visas and special visas and, going through all that compliance, etc., because it's a very sensitive area. But
Absolutely.
it's a very attractive offer. I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Right. No, thank you. Thank you for your note and for your question. And yes, so the logistics, etc., of recruiting a fellow and sort of deploying them to your organization, which is inclusive of the visa processes, are entirely taken care of at our end. So
Thank you.
organizations
Thanks
don't
very much.
worry about.
Thank you.
Hi, may I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. Good evening to all of you. This is Adil from Jammu and Kashmir. Actually, I am associated with an organization which is working in disability sector since past 20 years. So actually, I have one small question that I just on 7th January this year, 2023, I have just entered into the 36th year. So am I eligible for the fellowship? That's the one. Another is that recently I have completed my one more program, which is the postgraduate diploma in development and leadership from Azim Premji University, Bangalore. So it was a hybrid program. So I have this question: am I eligible for this fellowship or not?
Hi, Adil. Thank you for your question. As far as the India track is concerned, you are not eligible simply because you are outside of the age threshold. Perhaps our other service track, which is the US service track, might be of interest to you. I request you to look up our website. The application process for that is ongoing at the moment, so you might want to look it up.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Can I raise one issue? Just a minute, 1 second.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You see, I'm Jos Chatukolam from Center for Rural Management. I would like to appreciate the very encouraging idea and it's a kind of very aspirational project in this sense. I do work for strengthening and capacity building of the local government in India and in number of states. I feel that there, to strengthening the local government is a major issue as far as cut across all the welfare schemes. Definitely, it is a very fascinating kind of explanation. I will try from my side. Thank you for your excellent presentation and thank you. Fine. See you.
Thank you so much. Guess there was another question.
Yeah, hi Chandani. Chandani, this is Akshay Sagar from Odisha. So last year, yeah. So last year we had applied for an intern, and in the last moment, she opted out, and we had signed the MOU also, but that did not materialize. So there was no replacement done as well, because we had to do a lot of preparation to engage an intern. It wasn't kind of sounded good with the communities. So in that place, is there anything that here not to repeat the same mistake?
Right, I appreciate you asking this question, Akshay. It's very important to note that participating in the application process or even getting longlisted onto the next stage does not go on to guarantee that organizations get a fellow. Like Akshay was mentioning, there have been instances in the past when even after deploying a fellow at your organization, for a reason, if there's a withdrawal at a penultimate state, we are not committed to placing a fellow at your organization. And that's because primarily of the reason that we need fellows to completely be on board with the idea, and there needs to be a perfect alignment in terms of skills, aspirations, and expectations, meaning both the fellow and the organization need to be signing up for the process as equal, stable partners. For any reason, if either bodies withdraw from the association, AIF tries its best to figure an alternative. Meaning, if you're an organization and after final interviews, etc., your fellow withdraws, we will go ahead and try and make you meet with another bunch of prospective candidates that you can interview with. And our hope would be to establish a stable pair that way. But since the process is beyond our control and it is driven by the feedback that we receive from fellows and organizations mutually, we are not in a position to commit a placement even after you participate in the process. So I actually really appreciate this question for multiple reasons. It also helps clarify as to what our process looks like and helps set expectations accordingly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
Hello.
ma'am.
Hello. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, hi Chani, I'm Prachi from CYSD, it is Center for Youth and Social Development, Odisha. So Chani, my question is like during the filling up the forms and all, if you have any type of queries, then to whom we can connect?
Thanks, Prachi. So on the chat section, you will see a fellowship ID up. That's a generic email ID. And once you reach out to us there, someone from the team will definitely assist you and handhold you through the process.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am. Yeah, hello. Ma'am, I am...
yes, please go on.
Yeah, I am
yes.
calling from Madhya Pradesh, and I am associated with the Manthan Sahara organization. Ma'am, actually, I would like to know regarding this fellowship program that ours is an organization which is working in very tribal dominated areas in MP, Madhya Pradesh. So when if we go ahead with the selection of the fellows or appointment of the fellows, then will they be able to relocate to that remote location, or we have to place them in certain nearby city areas?
Great question. No, thank you for asking. No, wherever the need is, we are committed to placing the fellow there. So our fellows tend to be placed in rural pockets, in fact. So that's not a problem at all.
Okay, so they will, like, we have to make arrangements for their stay in that remote locations only? Like we will be responsible for making this.
Yeah. Yes, because organizations are not just expected to sort of mentor and guide fellows, but also be in charge of, their needs and their safety security, essentially, right? So if it's a rural pocket, our expectations go up all the more. The expenses for this, like both Amrit and Mohan mentioned, will be completely taken care of out of the stipend that AIF pays these fellows. But if it's we do expect organizations to sort of help find accommodation, etc.
Okay. Ma'am, one more thing I would like to ask that as per your last experiences and other dignities also, they have mentioned their experiences. So fellows, do they prefer to join in with small organizations or organizations who are, located in the vicinity of the rural communities? Is there any preference criteria you could have
Right.
observed?
That's another very good question. I appreciate you asking this. The short answer would be no, and that's because we don't allow such metrics to be visible in the early stages of the screening process, meaning we will not reveal names of organizations, which in turn can lead to bias creation, right? So we will only expose the fellow to the project statement and the project details, and fellows are expected to make their pick basis that. Only at a later stage will they get to know the organization's name, location, etc. So again, nothing to worry about on that front.
Okay, fine. Thank you from ma'am. Thank you very much.
We take perhaps one more question and maybe round this up. We're 11 minutes ahead of time. Just want to be respectful of everyone's evening engagements.
Yeah, hi Chandani, I'm Anupa from Pehal Jan Sahyog Vikas Sansthan. Yeah, I just want to understand that if there is something like we are not expecting for something unusual happen with the fellow or in the organization, then what are the procedures to close that fellowship in between?
So if the process is not smooth sailing, or if there is a glitch in expectation setting versus delivery, etc., which is not ideal, of course, because we invest a lot of time and resources in establishing these pairs in the first place, right? Know that you can troubleshoot with AIF, and our role is to obviously mediate and make sure that the process is mutually rewarding for both fellows and organization. However, if that's not possible for any set of reasons, your MOU, your contract allows you to sort of withdraw subject to a certain set of terms and conditions, which we can elaborate on at a later stage.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, listening so intently, and for bringing to the table such great focused questions. Should you have any further questions, feel free to write to us on the email that's up on the chat section. And I want to close by thanking my co-panelists who've done such a fantastic job at explaining the value add of the program and the fellows. Our fellows are a great resource, as you've understood by now. They are a body of self-starters who are committed to going beyond the asks of the project. And I'm super thankful again to both Amrit and Mohit for having elaborated on that so effectively. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, Chani. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone.